For those of you I don't know, and I think I do know pretty much all of you, I'm Lynne Franks, and I'd like to welcome you to the Hub at number 3. It is our pre-launch launch. We are in fact opening on February the 4th, thanks to my brilliant friend at the back over there, who I'm going to introduce in a minute, John Wadsworth, top astrologer and genius, who has done a chart for the event, for the place rather, and he says the event should be on February the 4th. So we're going to have a lot of incredible activities. Somebody's phone's going. Okay. So I'm going to introduce a few people, and of course you've been invited to hear Clive to Carle talking as an introduction to natural health. But let me explain a little bit about what's going on here, because this might look like a cafe restaurant, and actually it's not going to be a cafe restaurant in the normal sense. We are going to do very specific events here, linked in with the workshops we're doing. We're going to have, for example, brilliant healthy chefs who are going to do pop-ups, as well as teach conscious cookery. Everything we do here is going to be based on well-being. Well-being for our bodies, well-being for our souls, well-being for our minds, and actually well-being for the community. And I'm really glad to see so many people from the community here. And I'd just like to, that's my phone, I'd just like to name Sue Place, who I think is still here, I'm a huge fan of. Sue runs the Barstow Centre, which is our community centre, which does the most extraordinary work in Wincanton and is up the road a bit, and is one of 11 in the country that are doing the kind of work with single mothers, with seniors, with I don't know, every area, so I won't go to it, but you know, everything should they do up there. And I'm thrilled to say that we're going to be working closely. Sue and I have been working over the last year developing ideas where we can, for example, one of the things we're going to do, which I launched last March, is have older senior women mentoring young girls from the community, because women is my work. I know people who men might, somebody, no, none of you, you're all cool. But some people may say that why not the men? But actually, I believe that it's the women that need it the most, and that's my work, and that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to do other things as well, teaching people how to start their own small community-focused businesses and others. So I am very delighted that Sue is here. I'm also very thrilled that so many of my Buddhist friends are here, and I find it extraordinary in this funny little road of ours that we have actually I think 6 or 7 women of a certain age, let's say my age, 2 of them sitting over there, Stephanie and Jules for a start, and Maggie and Wendy, and there's a lot of us. And I don't know, none of us ended up here because of each other. We all ended up here by coincidence and randomly, and we found each other, and we've sort of like, if you don't mind me saying, girls, it's the crones are back to kind of put out the positive energy. Or, I'll put it another way, the wise women are here holding the space here in Wincanton and surrounding areas on that level. And there are counsellors here, other friends. Oh gosh, there's lots of Buddhists in the room, I'm suddenly realising. How wonderful. And other friends, new friends. And I did mention Saskia when she came in. I am such a fan of Saskia, Sharon, her husband Ian, and what they're doing at Bootmakers. I'm sure most of you have seen it. If you haven't, please go and have a look at it. They have been open since Christmas, since I kind of forced you into pretending I was going to open early. But anyway, so they work with children, teaching them how to make beautiful art out of rubbish and sell delicious pizzas and all sorts of other good things. It's become such an important part of the community with all the activities. I'm just looking around the room because I want to make sure that I do mention everybody. There are some very talented women entrepreneurs in the room, like Victoria Oakley, who's standing right here, and Emily, who's standing right next. Victoria Vix does these wonderful toiletries, sacred bath and oils, which she puts a lot of time and energy and her whole intention into, and we sell them and are selling them, and we'll be using them throughout the properties, and I'm very delighted you're here. Emily makes fantastic well, no, not real chocolate, but it is real chocolate, raw chocolate, real chocolate. Those lovely discs that you can see here, if you've managed to be lucky enough to get one, are one of Emily's specialities, and we're going to be working with Emily, like others in the room. She's going to be doing workshops here about mates, which she's not so scared about, and Vix is also going to be doing working here. The idea that I've got is that I want it to be really holistic in every sense of the word. So I don't want to just sell products. I want the people behind the products to do workshops here, teach workshops here. I want the whole place to kind of really resonate with joy and healthiness. Hello, Mary. And so that's really between the shop next door, between what we're doing here with our workshops, with our very large workshop room upstairs, with our we've got our treatment rooms where we've got the very best body workers are going to be working here. Gordon Hughes is at the back somewhere, who does absolute magical body work in every sense of the word, and energy work's going to be working there, and others that I'm still talking to. Next year, February the 4th, thereafter, we have a wonderful series of all kinds of workshops and retreats, and we have also 4 delicious bedrooms up there which are eco in every way, and a very good friend of mine who's quite strict in her taste came and stayed the other day and refused to get out of bed because she said it was the most comfortable sleep she'd had for years, with alpaca duvets and all sorts of goodies. Hi there. Hi there. So these 2 lovely women who I only met recently are mother and daughter, I hope you know what I'm saying, and they are selling and working with electric bicycles, and I met them in Castle Kerry actually, and we're talking about having a lot of activity. Actually, it reminds me, with me and Saskia, right, we're going to start getting that square open. We haven't got permission yet, but we are going to do it in spring.
Before we got any permission.
Yeah, but I have put it out there. I am chatting about it. Anyway, it will happen. It's going to be in that square. Come the nice weather, we're going to have seats and chairs and activities there, and I thought it'd be great fun to have the electric bikes for people to use, and we're going to try and have some live music. So when people come into Wincanton, and I must emphasise, I am really committed to Wincanton and seeing the potential of this beautiful little town and all the wonderful architecture and all the things that can be done here. I am working with other people here. I'm sorry Zach Grenning's not here because he's a very talented artist that works here, and others, about what we can do to really make this town everything as beautiful as it can be. And I want to thank Nicholas. I'm not going to look at him because I don't want to embarrass him, but Nicholas has got these beautiful windows up the road that he's actually given to the artists of the town, and that's only just starting, which is really great news. There's a lot of special things about Wincanton which I'm still discovering. There's a lot of stuff, you know, somebody splattered white paint outside, but apart from that, it is really, I love it, I really love it, and I'm so excited about what's going to happen here. So the idea really is that this centre, what you guys are doing over the road at Bootmakers, what other people are doing in the town, is going to really create a new kind of energy, a healing energy, something special, as we are halfway between Glastonbury Tor and Stonehenge, and there are, according to those who believe it, which I do, there's ley lines going through the whole area, and it's really, really something that we can do here to be positive in our own community. There's a guy called Michael, what's his name? Angie told me about him, Michael Trinningham. No, where's Angie? No, what's his name? Clive? Michael? Tallinger, thank you. So Michael Tallinger, who's a South African guy who does a lot of talks, and a very brilliant man, does talks on how one small town can change the world, and how you get 5,000 people in a town and everybody volunteers for 3 hours a month, you could actually change the whole town and have a different kind of economy and a different kind of connection between you. So wouldn't it be amazing if Wincanton turned out to be one of those towns? I think we are about 5,000 people. I noticed on this morning there are 5 or 3,000 members of the Wincanton Facebook page, which says a lot really. That's it. So moving on to other things that I want to talk about, I would like to introduce John Wadsworth, who's going to come up here now. And John has just got a beautiful book out which he's going to show you, which we have some copies of here, Your Zodiac Soul. And John is going to be doing a series of 12 weekend workshops starting next April, which I'm going to ask him about. Yep. And he is one of the top. I said, I want to describe him as the top astrologer in the UK, and he said, one of the, sounds more comfortable, so one of the.
So, thank you, Lynne. Yeah, it's great to be here, fabulous to see everybody. And yeah, so I brought this book out in March, and it's based on I've been working for a number of years with the zodiac as a medicine wheel. The idea being that we carry the whole of this wheel within us. Not just, this isn't just 12 personality types, that's what we're kind of used to when we think of the zodiac and our zodiac signs. Of course there's truth in that, of course there is, but there's actually a much older way of working with the zodiac, in fact the original way, the old Greek and Roman mystery schools. The zodiac was something that you worked with as a cycle of a series of initiations to recover the wholeness, the complete human being, with somebody who had mastered each of these 12 perspectives. So I've been running a course called The Alchemical Journey in Glastonbury for the last 10 years, and the book is based on the sort of all the distilled essence of that, and I'm really pleased to be able to bring it here so you can actually come and experience your own zodiac soul journey.
Yeah, so starting in April, we're going to do these weekends.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Friday night, which is an open workshop, which will be either down here or in the big workshop room upstairs, which you're invited to have a look at. Sorry, which you're invited to have a look at soon, after we finish speaking, that is. Don't go off in the middle. And then John's going to do a workshop every Saturday, which ideally people will come to for the year, which will identify the different aspects of themselves relating to the zodiac. And then on the Sunday, they're going to go off to Glastonbury and...
Yeah, we're going to work with the Glastonbury Zodiac, which is a landscape star temple. For those of you who don't know what it is, it was discovered almost 100 years ago. It stretches out about 12 miles across the Somerset landscape around Glastonbury. And we can walk in these figures and as a sort of pilgrimage each month, as a way of kind of embodying the principles. This works like a sort of process of deep inquiry, of inquiring into these essential truths, these 12 perspectives on the world, on ourselves. And when we walk in the land, that can drop really deep into the body. I'm a great advocate of embodied learning, experiential learning. We don't get this out of the head and into the body, and how we do that. And walking is a fabulous way of doing it, especially when you're walking in sacred land. So, yeah, so it's a whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday, complete experience every month.
Starting in April, and we'll be up on our website when we get it done, which will be soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. Thank you so much. So, Saskia, would you like to? It's going to be very exciting. I'm going to be doing them. Saskia's somewhere here. I know you are. So, Saskia Marjoram, I'm sure many of you know, is an important member of our community here. Yeah, you are. Well to me. And she's an absolutely brilliant flower essence magician, I think is the word, alchemist. And over to you, because we're going to be doing in the spring, we've decided it's going to be flower essence making and also distilling herbs.
Yeah, I'm 2 workshops I think we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a day doing flower essences, learning what they are, how you make them, what you might need them for, where you are in your healing at the moment, and what you want to focus on. And that'll be one day. And the other day is more a practical day on distilling herbs, which is quite separate from flower essences. It's much more practical, herbalist-led day. It'll be about,
So it's going to be, yeah. So
that'll be great. So it'll be like quite practical, grounded, earthy stuff.
Yeah. And all I can say is that anybody that's tried Saskia's fantastic flower essences, which I have, would be quite taken aback actually. We have got them here, we are selling them here, about how effective they are. They really are. And I put on sexy, what was the sexy one?
Sexy and gorgeous.
I put sexy, I had a couple of drops of sexy and gorgeous today. Can you tell? Yeah. So thank you very much. So we're really looking forward to it. And although there's going to be 2 different kinds, there will be more. It will be more than twice over the year. This is just
I think it'll be an ongoing thing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be ongoing, absolutely. And as I said, this is very early days of many activities that we're going to be having here, which are great fun. My friend Joanna Jacobs, who's a talented artist that did the beautiful Frida in the window next door, is going to be working with us and doing a sort of adult version of what you guys are doing, and perhaps hopefully we're going to find a space and some time before Christmas to actually make Christmas presents out of rubbish, really. So Joanna is a genius about finding the most extraordinary things in dumpsters and places like that, so she's going to be talking all about that. And I'm just remembering who else. Pete Lawrence over there, Campfire, and I'm really delighted he's here. Pete's a recent sort of addition, if you like, to the Somerset community, having moved to Frome. And what was the festival? Sorry, you started.
I did the Big Chill.
Oh yes. So Pete started the Big Chill and other things. He's now started something which is called Campfire, which is an online and live event series of discussions and conversations about things we need to be talking about in the modern world, whether it be new economy, community, whichever. Do you want to? What do you want to say? What?
New economy, well-being, politics, yoga, everything that's sort of interrelates. Really, how are we going to change the world?
And so I'm really delighted to say that Pete's going to be doing some of those here. We've got our lovely garden outside, which you're welcome to go and look at. And we're going to be having some campfire events. My friend Steve Eggleton, who's just about to text his wife, I'm sure.
No, taking notes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Big campfire.
His wife, Dana will be with us very soon. So Steve has just returned from America this week, and Steve is a brilliant writer, has got a number of published works out there, quite a few. And we're going to be doing writers' workshops with you, Steve, aren't we? Which I'm very excited about. We just decided that today, actually, we're going to have rock and roll. I hope Mr. David Ash is going to join us at some time for some rocking, one of the best blues players around. I haven't told him that yet, actually. I must tell you guys what I'm going to do. Where's your... Sorry, I didn't tell you that, and Lisa over the back there, who's a fantastic author of, if you like, modern day witchery. How would you describe? Modern day witchery. Very, very clever. And her very successful books out with Hay House that sell all over the world. Also, we decided today is going to come and be doing workshops. My friend Katie Brockhurst over there, who is the queen of social media in the new age with her new book, which we have in the shop, is going to be doing workshops for us. And this little crowd here, I'm very delighted to say, are opening up just behind you, just up the road. How would you do, what's it called?
There's two bits to it. So there's Wincanton Fruit and Veg at the back.
Yay!
And then the front bit's gift shop, which is Cold Yard, which is my surname. So we're opening tomorrow. So
and also, because I was thinking of doing that, and you're going to do it in that little courtyard between the two. You're going to have local growers come and give away.
We're going to call it traders tables. So anyone that grows stuff locally can just come, switch it round, chat about the best thing, maybe have a competition as to who's growing the best whatever that month, and yeah.
Brilliant, and so it's all happening. Let's say. So and have I discussed with you about film nights here? You were somebody I was going to call that. We want to do we're going to do lovely film nights once a month, like a supper and a good movie, and perhaps a movie with a social message, perhaps a movie like I was just reading about Mary Colvin's movie in the Sunday Times, something like that. And last year we did suffragettes together for International Women's Day, and we had about 80 women showing up, which was really exciting. 80, 90 women up at Town Hall. So that's going to be. I forget what the name of the charity is. Not charity, the social enterprise is.
Where West Begins.
Where West Begins, who put on amazing movies all the time, and they've got something I'm going to go and see in Yeovil.
Well, Whale Riders.
Whale Riders, and then your work. This is.
Okay, I haven't forgotten.
So Whale Riders, the film, is going to be showing, and then Saskia is doing a whole series of art workshops with children and the sea. So that's how we rock it, we get it. That's what we do. So I'm also going to now ask my video cameraman to swap sides and come up here. So Clive de Carle, as many of you know, is a real evolutionary in natural health. He's, do you want to come up, Clive? And he's certainly the most knowledgeable man I've ever met in anything to do with natural health, and has tried to get me on a journey of natural health and healing, and I am on it now, and I'm feeling good, which basically means that I can't eat anything, never drink again, never have coffee, never have these chocolates. That wasn't Clive's idea, actually, in fairness, Clive, that's not his idea. Anyway, so have you got your mic on?
I think it's probably going to work fine.
Okay, all right then. So Clive is going to be based here. He's the founder of the Secret Health Club, which does a lot of online broadcasting. Clive has interviewed probably the most knowledgeable experts in all areas of natural health all over the world, really, over the last how many years? 10 years. So has a huge amount of content on YouTube, and followers from all around the world, because he says it how he is. The things that he's told me about the different aspects of our health. My test, I hate to say it, but my test is the Daily Mail, let's say. So as I read the Daily Mail, I even write for them sometimes, and quietly, but subterfuge. And I'm really amazed how much is out there in the mainstream that you've been certainly talking about for years, all the way that they've suddenly discovered that plastic is in our bodies. How horrible a feeling is that? But, I mean, you've been aware for many years of the harm we do to ourselves, toxins. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, as several of you who know me already may know, I was working in ophthalmic optics and was quite happy, and I was fit and healthy, and one day I made the biggest mistake of my life, which turned out to be one of the greatest things I've done in my life, and I went to the doctor and I had some spots on my face that were embarrassing me at age 30, and the doctor said, take these antibiotics. Now what the doctor should have said was stop 3 Mars bars a day, stop eating lunch at the cafe, behave yourself, with what you're doing. But instead they gave me an antibiotic, and after a few days, my vision started going wrong, and then I started becoming arthritic. And then it got to the stage where I could no longer work, I could no longer drive, and then one morning I couldn't get dressed, and they put me in hospital. And I was in hospital for week after week after week. And in the end, they said, there's nothing that we can do. You're not going to walk again, and actually cutting off your feet, they thought, might be a good idea long term. And anyway, more or less the day they told me I was a hopeless case, I'd been reading, and it had turned out that I was low on magnesium. And I got wheeled out in a wheelchair, started taking every vitamin and mineral I could get my hands on, and all the arthritis went away, and I recovered. And I wasn't meant to do that. And then a couple of years later, somebody I knew got cancer for the second time, and they were told they had about 12 weeks to live. They did what I did, except they did it more. They took 35 grams of vitamin C every day, and they lived another 20 years, not 12 weeks. And I sold my optical business, and I started studying health. Because I realised that nobody seems to know what health is. And now I've got it down to a reasonably fine art, where when I see a client, for instance, the first thing I do is cover the real basics. By real basics, I'm going to ask them questions like, are you filtering your water? So, elemental. Is the air you're breathing any good? Are you eating organic food or poisoned food? You know, are you getting sunshine? Because without sunshine, people get ill. And then I start asking them about their minerals, because if I ask all of you questions like, do you get muscle cramps in the backs of your legs or your feet? Do you walk in a room and forget why you walked in? Have you got bowel issues? Have you got twitches around the eyes? Have you got little bumps on the outside of your upper arms? Have you got dry skin? Have you got dry skin on your elbows? Those sort of questions, really, really basic, and a lot of people have got at least one of those. If you've got any of those, you've got heart problems, all those problems, you're either low on magnesium or you're low on iodine. And in my experience, I tested hundreds of people's mineral levels a couple of years back, just hundreds, and I stopped in the end because everybody's low. It was ridiculous. And so, I mean, just to give you an example of the sort of things I try to explain to people, 10 years ago I was working with what I thought was a genius medical doctor, and he said to me one day, you're low on vitamin D. And I realised that he was right, I was low on vitamin D because I was getting a cold every year, and I started taking vitamin D. Now, how much does it cost to supplement with vitamin D for a year? You can do it for less than £10 for the entire year. And vitamin D is what you get from sunshine. So if you walk into your, I never had a cold for 10 years after that. No colds at all.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Because one of the things I'm looking at is putting our treatment room with we've talked about this, with special panels that will do infrared light and create a sunroom basically. Because the reality is, we don't get a lot of sun. Well, we do, but we're not all year, and we need it. So that's one. The other thing I would like to say at this point, if you don't mind, is that you also tell everybody, including me, to take fulvic acid. And I was very interested to read this week that they're thinking of putting fulvic acid into bread because it's suddenly being recognised how important these bases, these minerals are and supplements are to our bodies. And I mean that's good news. Except they said they put it in white bread, so it's not really good news. But there's an awareness starting, isn't there?
Well, there is, and our ancestors knew what they were doing. Our ancestors survived for thousands of years before the luxuries that we're.
They died about 30.
No, they didn't. No, this is one of the big myths. If you go to a graveyard, the government will tell you, look, we used to live till 45, now we live till 80 or whatever it is. You go to a graveyard, they either died in childbirth, the mothers or the children died in childbirth, or they lived to 85, 90. Any graveyard will do that. What the governments do is they take both those statistics, childhood death and old age, put them together and say we only live till 40. And people believe it. It's just a myth. But just to explain a little bit more about the vitamin D thing, if you go into the doctor's office now, into the GP surgery, there'll be a sign saying the flu season is coming, ask for a vaccination. Now, what is a flu season? Is that where the weather gets colder and those nasty little flu bugs sneak out from their little hiding places and bite you because the weather's changed? It's not that at all. It's that we run out of sunshine. So people generally get colds and flus in the winter, not in the summer, except if they've got a day job and they're indoors all the time, they don't get any sun at all. And people get colds in the summer. But the medical profession has lost the plot as far as what causes are. You know, when I was in hospital 30 years ago, I realised that actually doctors don't study causes of disease. And you know, what got me out of hospital was minerals, right? Vitamins and minerals. How long does in the 5 years that a doctor studies, how long do they study minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fats, all the food groups, carbohydrates, proteins? In 5 years, doctors do half a day on minerals, vitamins and nutrition. So when we go to the doctor and they say, oh look, your iron levels are off, they don't know what they're doing. The only reason they can say your iron levels are off is they've got a crib sheet.
Okay, so before we go completely against the whole, because not all doctors don't get this.
No, not all doctors.
And I think it's always about balance. So, but having said that, I've seen miracles that Clive has done with his clients on many, many areas, and I'm delighted that he is going to be doing one-to-ones even before February the 4th here. And we are going to be starting a series of workshops on everything you need to know to stop you going, well, you were looking at eyesight, how we can regrow our teeth. I think mine have had it like that. But anyway, there are a number of aspects of well-being, longevity that are not talked about, let's say, in the public arena, but should be and will be. And the other thing I'm very excited about you're working with is the machines. They're not machines, they're devices, as you keep telling me. So there are a number of very, very interesting bioresonance devices from, a lot of them from Eastern Europe. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because we've actually got some here, and if you're interested and you want to have a look, we can actually, well, Clive can show you some of them after we finish this talk, and Gordon can as well. Don't worry, good luck tomorrow. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So, yes, I've got 3 devices in the other room, and anybody is welcome to have a go on them. The first one is a PEMF mat, a pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat. And I gave a demonstration up in London recently, and one person lay down on it for 8 minutes, and 8 minutes is all you need. They explained to me afterwards that they were lying flat for the first time ever, that all their whole life they'd had a curve in their spine, that 8 minutes lying down on the mat had straightened their spine. I mean, it's just incredible. Then I've got a Russian device called a scanar, otherwise known as a pain genie. Little portable device, every home should have one. And if there's anybody in pain, there's a reasonable chance that either the machine will get you out of pain completely or a massive reduction.
Do you want to explain the background for the scaners?
Yes, it was developed, you know, the Russians in the Cold War had an infinite budget for the military. Infinite budget, and they were aware of several weapons the Americans had, particularly for blindness. They knew by the 70s that the Americans had a blinding laser that on the battlefield could everybody.
What about Astrologer?
Well, it is.
Let's just.
Okay. Anyway, well, you mentioned eyesight earlier.
Yes.
There are Russian institutes now that are restoring 80% of blindness. 80%. Macular degeneration. You know, retinal problems that in England are thought of as totally untouchable, incurable. But the device that we're talking about, the scanar, was developed for the space industry, and it is a pocket device, and they couldn't take drugs into space, so they'd seen Star Trek on TV where the doctor has this magic instrument, and they had 130 scientists at one time working on it, unlimited budget, and they developed this tool, which I can show you, which is just remarkable. More often than not, 5 minutes and people are out of pain, just like that. But it also reverses blindness. It's quite the technology that the Russians have is incredible because they didn't have the drugs that we had in the West. You know, they were embargoed, so they had to come up with their own stuff, and it turns out...
Louder and louder. Sorry.
Anyway, and lastly, there's a scalar wave generator in the back room, which is what Einstein talked about. There are a number of things you can try.
I mean, there's the thing about a lot of this technology is that it goes back a long, long time. I mean, Tesla who was the original Tesla as opposed to the car that my friend Jill is driving around in. Where's Jill? A beautiful, beautiful, incredible car, which I'm very envious of. But Mr. Tesla himself was when? 1920, 1930?
The Tesla device that you've got here was essentially designed at the turn of the last century, and by the 1920s, every hospital in the world had a Tesla healing device. Every hospital in the world, and they were all taken out when the pharmaceutical industry took over the teaching of doctors. And people don't realise that well, let's give an example. I went to the London Anti-Aging Conference last week, and I got into a hyperbaric chamber, where you can heal multiple sclerosis, all sorts of things. It turned out the first one of these chambers was built in 1664, 2 years before the Great Fire of London. They were curing people with pressurised chambers, and the drugs that are used now are a latecomer in the scheme of fixing things.
So you're going to say something else then, but I'm not going to. What else it fixes? I'm not just. So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of proof, scientific proof, of what is available out there in the way of nutrients, supplements, knowledge that we don't hear about enough. And we hope that here at the Hub, we will also be really taking this information out there as widely as we can, because not only are we going to be holding events, talks and workshops, but we are going to be putting it out there with the technology now that we have. So it's going to be out there going to the world, so from Wincanton to the world. And I'd just like to acknowledge my friend Jenny Holt, who arrived after I started talking, only because it was because Jenny I got here, and Jenny's been a friend of mine for 30 years and I love her very much. I just want to say that. I also want to say hello to the Kimbers who've just arrived, who I love as well, who've got the amazing farm shop down the road and are about to open this fantastic restaurant, which I can't help. I mean, all these things are happening here, right? It's such good news. And I'd really like to thank my team who have worked so hard, Francesca, who has been incredible, who is going to be running this place and has worked so hard and cooked much of the food that you've had today. So thank you. Thank you very much, Anita and Roxy, who are my housekeepers, and Jill's, and a few other people. I don't know how they do it, but they are going to be looking after this place and making it quite wonderful. I think Gordon and Andrew, who've been working really hard, helping get this place ready in practical terms and business terms, and Yasmin, where is Yasmin standing right from me? Sorry. Yasmin, who has just been brilliant and is brilliant about helping me with all the marketing and working closely with me, and our new team member Tansen, who has just joined us, who is going to be running the shop and the retail side. And literally, we are starting tomorrow. And after we finish here, after a cup of tea, she is very happy to open up. If any of you would like to have a look around the shop, she's more than happy. You don't have to buy anything. It'd be lovely if you did, but you don't have to. We're going to be selling my favourite choice of books, some really good magazines, and apart from that, we are going to be selling beautiful natural toiletries and beauty products. I mentioned Vix's before, and there'll be others from women entrepreneurs. I'm hoping Angie Brooker, who's here somewhere, will have her range out soon, which I would love to have. We're going to have eclectic clothes. You can see what we've got, beautiful textiles, and continue on in the sort of haphazard but lovable way that we are started. So we did our pop-up before Christmas last year, and we are now open again, so that's really good news. Hello, Donna Amadeus in the house. Yeah. So, hi darling. So, anyway, so that's some of the things, and I don't know if there are any members of my crew that I haven't thanked. I hope not, because you've all been absolutely brilliant. So thank you for your patience and listening to us, and if you'd like to talk to Clive, he's got some of the supplements. He can talk to you about doing one-to-ones. He can talk to you about the devices we just described that are in the back, and if any of you would like to talk to the other people I've introduced today about what they're going to be doing here, please do. You're welcome. Please have some more tea. We're getting out the chocolates now, and please come back. So, February the 4th, that's the date. So I look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you so much.